Good morning, are you out there? This is Mark with HFT Review, and we've got a new poster here on the subreddit, Grand Knight. Thank you so much for putting up your Relics of the Titans, which we'll take a look at and talk about. And I kind of jumped you ahead in the queue. I know Outrageous and Ring Queen have some stuff waiting. They've been waiting. But we'll get to some of their stuff this weekend. I'm trying to create my own slightly unique method of giving my players legendary items they have some agency in creating, and wanted to get some feedback on what I've worked out. I apologize for length, not a problem. For your consideration, the Relics of the Titans. Relics of eons past, these items were once immensely powerful and used by great heroes and villains alike, but eventually were discarded or lost to time, falling into disrepair and losing almost all their former power. There are 6 stages of the Relics of the Titans: Time-Worn, Dormant, Primus, Novus, Animus, and Ultimus. So a time-worn relic in its purest form, but whose name has been lost to time. In this form, it looks like a well-worn object, and because of this, we will need a new host to house its greater power that it may be restored. This would require the aid of a master blacksmith or other such craftsmen and rare materials. So, a couple things. The items. So this doesn't just mean a sword. It could be a bracelet, it could be a shield, it could be a wand of sorts. Sorry, I'm just naming items. But yes, it doesn't have to be a weapon necessarily, I guess is my point. And then you mentioned the blacksmith or other such craftsmen. I could easily see possibly a hag working on something like this. Most hags have been around since the foundations of the world. They're beyond ancient. Some can even be older than ancient dragons. Basically functionally immortal. And their knowledge of magic and creation is so deep that they could easily imbue one of these time-worn relics and get them on the path towards recreating them. So then it comes into, well, what materials will your players, your characters, have to quest for to get these time-worn objects back towards the dormant status, forming up the relic yet again. I could see very powerful things such as unicorn horn, which is like, ooh, how do you get that? Or even you mentioned Titan. I could see Titan bone or something like a Titan steel, which would be buried in the foundations of the earth from eons past, and you have to go dig into a Titan's femur bone or something, and it's the size of like a mine shaft, right? And you'll need some expert dwarf to help you extract it, something like that. So I like this. I also see that each relic or item could be very disparate from the others. They're not all maybe needing the same material. They're not all the same kind of item. So, yeah. Then we move on to Dormant. The relic has been put into a new host and has regained a fraction of its true power, but it has much growth to undergo, and the name of the relic is that of myth and not its true name. So with the idea of these relics, you're putting a huge amount of power into knowing the true name of something, which is a common trope, and I think the discovery of the name is as important as getting your hands on the time-worn relic to start with, finding the special materials needed, finding the craftsman or the powerful magic user that can restore the time-worn to its dormant form, and then finding the ultimate name of the item. All of those things have to be done. So you'd probably have to get this time-worn relic to your players, I would say, at an early point. They're going to, otherwise they're going to come along decent magical weapons and equipment early on. I'm assuming this would require attunement. And they may not want to set aside some of the gear they've gotten if they're too far into their quest. So I could see handing these relics over at level 1 to your players. Maybe even like a session 1 or 2 kind of thing where the group stumbles upon a chamber scattered with these faded items, but they can tell there's something special. Or they get a message from a spirit, or they play a disc of information that projects a hologram or something that tells them the nature of what they're looking at, and therefore the value's there. Do you let your players choose to leave some of the items behind? Or do you go, no, it's really important that each of you takes at least one of these items, and then you can craft up what the items do is appropriate to the class of the players as they go? All right, maybe. So, Primus, the first awakening of the relic, it has assumed a form resembling that of the form it once had. It has regained some of its former power. Okay? So at this point, it's going to become an actual magic item, I'm hoping. Novus, the second awakening of the relic. The form of the relic is now more defined and more closely resembles its true form, but there is still growth to be had. The relic has restored approximately 50% of its power now. Okay, all right. Animus, the third awakening of the relic. The form of the relic remains unchanged from the previous form, but it has regained approximately 75% of its power, yet its true name remains unknown. So we're closing in here, and we're going to have to find out what that true name is to probably be able to really activate the top tier, the god tier effects of the weapon. That's how I would lock it up, because obviously you're going to gain other powers of the relics, but they can't be gated behind knowing the true name, or it won't really functionally be that useful to the players. But I can see, yeah, that topmost form. I'm thinking like Dragon Ball Z kind of thing, which I don't know shit about, to be honest. But yeah, I got you. Finally, the Ultimus, the final form of the relic. Through a close bond, the relic is returned to the form it once possessed in eons past. In addition to restoring the relic to its true form, it has also regained 100% of its true power, and through a divine whisper, has revealed its true name. I also include an example of one of the relics of the Titans based on Excalibur, the sword of legend. Caliburn, or Excalibur Time-Worn, a rusty longsword which can be identified as the legendary Caliburn. It will need to be reforged into a new host, as it is unusable in its current form and has lost nearly all of its power. Possibly, though, like an identify would allow you to, or detect magic maybe, would allow you to see that there is magic in it, though it's not clear what it is. And even an identify probably would not let you see what all the forms are. That's probably pretty critical, that it is a mystery to be unlocked, because the magic of a legendary or relic level item is beyond even an identify spell. I could see that, yeah. So here we go. At the dormant level, so this is after the initial reforging through an expert, a craftsman, an expert of some sort. Having been reforged into a new host, Caliburn regains a fraction of its power, becoming a magic weapon. It grants a +1 to hit and +1 to damage roll. So it's standard +1 magic weapon at that point. So I would say that this is probably going to tie a lot into the entire campaign arc. I mean, you're going to have your main villain and the heroics that the party needs to go on to complete the campaign. You know, I'm thinking like level 1 to 16, level 1 to 18, 1 to 20. And you've got 6 tiers. So if you're just handing the relics to the players at level 1 or 2, you're going to have to progress through tiers 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, presuming 6 is like by level 16 or 17 plus, the top tier play. Yeah. You're going to have to move through every 3 or 4 levels. So I would say around level 4, they're going to want to get the dormant form reforged. So that means they might need to be questing for the material or purchasing the material, scrying for it, whatever they have to do to locate this stuff at levels 2, 3, 4, 5 at the latest. Because by level 5, you're going to want to get those first sets of magic items to your players. Presumably, it's going to be one of these dormant form relics, I would guess. Primus, so I could see the Primus happening around 7 or 8, level 7 or 8. Caliburn has awoken and now allows for the casting of Radiant Bolt, Radiant variation of Firebolt. So it's like a D10 cantrip, 120-foot range. as a first level spellcaster. You can use this ability 3 times a day. It's good that you've put a cap on it. You also deal an additional 1d6 radiant damage with your melee attack. Ooh. Getting kind of like a firebrand almost. It's yeah, that's powerful at that point. With the +1 and the plus 1d6 radiant, you're going to be dealing some serious damage. So yeah, level 8, I could see that locking in there. Let me move to the Novice form. You can use Branding Smite. It's like Branding Smite is like Divine Smite for a Paladin. It's a one-off thing. It does like 2d8 damage. I don't know if Radiant, it's probably Radiant, on a target. It has some other effect. It marks them. It marks your enemy somehow. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it does. But it's essentially a damage buff. And you can do it 2 times a day. So it's like, yeah, I would think of it like a Divine Smite from a Paladin. You're going to get it twice a day. It's going to, I think, add at least 2d8 to your weapon attack. Plus, it already does maybe it's 1d6. I don't think the numbers exactly matter. This is just an example, but this would be a large burst of damage from this caliber weapon, which is really nice. And it upgrades it to a +2. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. Okay. Oh yeah, we are. So, and now it's a +2 weapon, +2 to hit, +2 to damage. So your burst damage ability is greatly increasing. Okay, now we move on to Animus. So we went Dormant at level 4, Primus at level 8, Novus at level 12, Animus at level 15, 16. Radiant damage increases to 2d6 that on every hit. Radiant Bolt upgrades to level 5. And the Radiant Bolt, Firebolt, I think is a D10 and then a 2d10 at 5th level casting. And you can still use it 3 times per day. So again, your general damage is greatly increased, your burst damage, it's just ratcheting it up. And then finally, so let's see, Dormant at 4, Primus at 8, Novus at 12, Animus at 16, Ultimus at 18, 19, or 20. Because you're going against the big bosses at this point. True name. Excalibur upgrades to +3 to hit, +3 to damage, which again for bounded accuracy in D&D 5e is the max. You wouldn't want to go beyond that. But you can now cast Sunburst once per day and can cast Flame Strike once per day. I don't remember the exact difference between both of those. They're both fire related or radiant damage, right? It's like a fireball. Fireball's lower level. Fireball's like what, 3rd level? I think Sunburst is 5th, and I think Flame Strike is like it's not a 9th level. I don't want to overthink them because I'm probably going to get them mixed up anyway. But yeah, these are ranged AoE attacks, right? I don't think they're single strikes. Well, maybe Flame Strike is. Oh, shoot. Sunburst, I'm thinking is like a Radiant Fireball. Again, the exact spell mechanics, you guys can look it up. Maybe Flame Strike is a massive, like Divine Strike with Radiant and Fire damage. That would be cool. So, but yeah, I get the theme of this. And that is the end of the post. But I could see not everything's a weapon. That's kind of what the point of these relic items are, these Titan items. I could see a shield following the same progression that becomes a +1 AC shield and then moves on to a defensive buff. So, for instance, the Radiant Bolt, which is a cantrip, I could see putting like shield, the shield spell, 3 times a day into that. That would be nice. It's another good defensive spell that no one ever uses is Aid. What if in there somewhere you get Aid like twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever? Maybe at the Novus you get Aid. Only because Aid gives you like a +5 to your max hit points, but no one ever uses it. But it lasts. It doesn't require concentration. That's one thing about Aid. It lasts for like 8 hours. And it gives you that +5 temporary hit points. Yeah, it'll be gone really quick, but it also increases your maximum hit points. So if you're healed up throughout that 8 hours from potions or clerical healing, you can get to that +5 again. So if you were getting it for free, it doesn't count against the other spells that you can have going or that your shield can produce because it doesn't require concentration, and you could use it twice a day, it would get used. Even at higher levels, you'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna put 8 on the party just because I got it. Knock knock. So I haven't thought through the whole progression, but I could see having a suite of defensive capabilities like that you could build into a Titan shield. And then for a caster, I could do seeing some sort of mental barrage of stuff where, yeah, maybe there's a couple offensive spells in there, but there might also be some scrying or psychic resistance imparted upon the psychic attack, psychic resistance, some ability to read minds or protect your mind. So that could be like a headband or a ring or something for a spellcaster. So it's not just like, I'm an even better fireball mage. Now I have other things that relate to mentality. So I could see having a fire weapon. I could see having an ice themed weapon. I could see having a protection shield. I could definitely see having a mental ability ring. Or maybe you could have a mind boostering and scrying type of item where it is all about just the intellect and being able to know the world and gain knowledge of the world for say more bookish kind of mage. And then you could have another thing that would be a psionic weapon. You could have another thing that could be a straight up damage dealing mage or whatever. And it could be themed by elements, or it could just be a broad spectrum of spells that tie together with a good theme. So I think there's essentially limitless stuff you could do with this. But I like your example. I like that you provide a general example of what the Time Worn to Ultimus is, just vaguely, for people to use this as a structure. And I like the real example of the Caliburn to Excalibur transformation. It's pretty cool. I would definitely see using this. I think that the main place this could get you hung up is if you're is we know so many parties don't go to the highest levels. I think most parties, they say, end around level 10 or something, or is kind of the cutoff for the vast majority. But if you talk to your players and you're like, yeah, guys, this is going to go to a high level thing. You're going to get these items that will become relic level, and you're going to be fighting gold dragon, maybe gold dragons, red dragons, solars, that kind of thing with this. So Balors, I'm saying a lot. I like it. Even if you never completed the progression all the way, I think it could work very well. Or you could always tune down what they're getting at each level just a touch. Maybe not at the beginning, but maybe for the later ones, and then give these out every third level. So you get the Time Worn item at level 1, and then by level 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, you could progress through, right? 4, 7, 10, 13, 16. That would get you through the 5 from Time Worn, all 6, by level 16. And that could be your capstone, is that you guys are level 16 adventurers. It's getting really hard to run these monsters and control your guys' crazy ability. But now it's time at level 16 to 17 to finish up the campaign. So you don't have to stretch this all the way to level 20 to make it work. So, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's a great creative idea. You wrote it so well, Grand Knight. I mean, it was easy to read. I'm a little sleepy this morning. I haven't had coffee yet. But you wrote it very well. I could understand it. The presentation, the theme is there. The fun is obviously there. And I would just feel like such an idiot player if you presented these artifacts laid out in an ancient tomb of some grand hero from 3,000 years ago, and all the other party members took something, but I refused to. And you're, as the DM, you're just like, you're not going to pick up that headband? It's like, no, my character won't wear a headband. And you're like, is there nothing I can do to implore you? They're like, no, I'm not taking your stupid magic item. You're like, all right, man. All right, you're just going to be the regular adventurer then. Okay, that's it. I'll let you go. Thank you for sharing. And anyone who watched and stuck with us, the channel is continuing to grow. And please, by all means, share whatever homebrew you have here with this on r/homebrew fever dreams, and I will make a video for you. And I'll get back to Rune Queen and Outrageous and maybe Hot Army, whoever else is in the queue waiting their turn. Thank you.